producers, the people who produced their record were their managers, and that was a poor decision too because it was like that was not great. So they're just one thing after another, and then the revolving door of members. I mean, it was, And then we talked about this. You look at their album covers, and I'm like, wait, is that a dog or a seal? It looks like a seal head human, and I had to look it up, but sure enough, his name is Tior, and Tior makes more than one cover, and it's a half human, half seal with holding a big axe and skulls on the ground. For 1981, we weren't ready for that. That wasn't even Black Sabbath. That wasn't even Iron Maiden. Nobody had skulls on their album covers, like actual drawings of skulls on the ground. Like that's straight out of the movie Heavy Metal. And boy, that's tough. That's tough to market.
And yeah, back then, album cover art was really important, right? You think about some of the best albums out there, and they had great album covers, right? And then Black Sabbath had some terrible album covers, right? Born Again, I mean, that's an awful album cover. Paranoid is kind of weird.
Yeah, but you're not scratching your head. I mean, Paranoid is weird, but not a sealed head human with skulls and a big plane. Nothing makes sense on that cover.
Oh, the Narita cover, yeah, it's a sumo. It's a sealed head on a sumo wrestler, I think.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, but in the production, Ralph, you mentioned the production at one point. It does. It sounds like early Queensryche, that kind of production. Like the guitars are loud, but they're muffled in the background, and you hear a lot of drum and vocals. It's hard to explain unless you listen to that music early on. It's really good. It's just not. They don't mix the same anymore. They don't do that way. But just quality, heavy rock and roll. Some really good stuff here. But they just couldn't get out of their own way. They toured with some great bands over the years. As I mentioned, they got to tour with Sammy Hagar, who was a huge influence on him and a fan. And they toured. They played a stadium show with AC/DC. They played this awesome stadium show, but they just could not get traction in the United States. It was all overseas, and it just never really did it. But their early stuff could be like early Motley Crue, early Judas Priest, all possible, but it just didn't happen for them.
That's interesting, Mark. I feel like some of the songs on Rita sound like what Motley Crue might have sounded like in '79. It's just he sounds a little like Vince Neil on that record. It's straight ahead rock. It's not quite metal yet, but you could see where it's going. I felt that's funny. I felt like them, and then on Fire Down Under, I think you could pick a whole bunch of different bands. Sometimes to me it sounds like maybe the Scorpions, music-wise, from that era, or the little Def Leppard and No Lies. I mean, we go through the songs, but maybe a little Judas Priest here and there. I don't know. Yeah,
except for the way they start with their guitar. There's no, a lot of things start with a drum, maybe something first, or they lead in. It's just that classic, really old school, heavy, just rock, really metal, leading guitar. That you're like, when you hear those first notes, you're like, who is this? Is this in any of those bands we mentioned? That's what it's going to be. But anyway, go ahead, Ralph.
I would add Rat to that even. Kind of sounds a little bit like that sometimes.
Yep. Especially the early stuff, yep.
And it's a 5-piece, all 5-man band, so very similar to me. It just struck me right now.
Yeah, and then by the time it got to be '88, they kind of changed their sound a little bit more like thrash, early Metallica, and so that made a change things up. But really, they just were a victim of a lot of different things that just didn't get them over the hump at all.
No doubt. Yeah, and you mentioned the guitar lead-ins. It seems like every song on Fire Down Under has a nice riff at the beginning, that just grabs your attention, and that it's just, except for the Altar of the King starts out like this 1.5 minute sort of medieval guitar sound. And then there's a 10-second pause, like there's nothing. And then it goes into what they normally do. And that's the only song on there that's really different.
Yeah, so for
You know,
songs like Road Racing was one of the one I heard from their second album. That's that I read about. But really, for me, Fire Down Under is what I listened to the most. So Swords and Tequila is really where it was one you
yeah.
read about for being probably one of their strongest songs, or the one that you would recognize the most by them. Uh,
Yeah.
and then Frank, you had sent me some as well. What do you think about for songs?
For me, I agree with, I think Ralph will agree with me on this. I really like No Lies. To me, it sounds a lot like Def Leppard, High and Dry. Could have been on that album. I like No Lies. I like Swords and Tequila, obviously. Feel the Same is pretty cool. I like that one. But if I had to do song of the day, I'll let Ralph pick, but then I would do No Lies for me. Or I also like, yeah, Feel the Same. I think Outlaw is really good too. So I don't know,
And
Ralph, what do you?
I would say No Lies also. I think that would have made a great video, because like the lyrics and just the way the song's structured, it looks like something that they could have made a video of. I'd also say Outlaw too. That sounds like a song that's out there in the ether. Um, I think when I first heard that record, I seem to remember like hearing the beginning of that song and thinking, did I hear this on WPLJ? Did they like advertise these guys as doing like nightclubs and stuff like that? Kind of made me think of that. So possibly in the early '80s, Frank,
Mm.
WPLJ and Mark, are you from Connecticut?
Yeah, mostly.
Did you listen to I-95 or
Uh,
no? That was
Was
out the
I-95 too
way.
far away for you to get I-95?
we had CCC out of Boston, and then we had 102
Okay.
AQI out of Springfield that played classic rock. And then we had the alternative kind of stuff out of New Haven. WPLR was huge for me.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, because
you're from
I-95 was big for us. We could get it in Yorktown, um,
yeah.
but that's kind of lower Connecticut. Yeah.
Don't know where that was. At
Brookfield?
maybe yeah, it could have been. But it made me think of that. It made me think of that because I-95 and WPLJ were right next to each other on the dial, and there was some sort of familiar kind of feel to Outlaw when I first heard that record. And so I would put No Lies as number one, and Mark absolutely Swords to Tequila two, and Altar of the King. And Frank, you mentioned Feel the Same. That's the one
Yeah, I
that
like
sounds a bit,
Phil.
that sounds a bit like Rat. That's the one that sounds like Rat to me a little.
Yeah, Feel the
So
Same. Like, I also like Don't Bring Me Down. It's not to be confused with the Animals, Don't Bring Me Down. But I just like the opening guitar on that. So maybe since you guys already did Swords Tequila, No Lies, and Outlaw, I would throw those two in, Feel the Same, and Don't Bring Me Down.
All right, well, we'll post a bunch of that
Yeah.
so people can
there's
check.
only one swing and a miss, and that's Flashbacks. That's the last song. That's kind of a
The
swing
last
and a miss.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last song is bad. I don't know what they were doing. It sounds like it's supposed to be live, maybe. But there's a lot of talking going on, random guitar solos. I don't know what they were doing. It's strange.
If you listen to it, it sounds like they're talking about the music industry. It's hard to make out what they're saying, but I've chosen not to because it's a lot of feedback and a lot of crowd noise and stuff like that. Yeah, it's kind of filler. They could have done
Yeah.
that without putting that at the end.
Yeah, it's amazing. You have this great album, you listen to 9 great songs, and then the last one, you're not sure what it is, but you just end the album there after the ninth song. It's sort of like, I don't know, Houses of the Holy, and you get to the crunch, and it's like, some people love it, but a lot of people just don't like it.
What
So
I read about that is their A&R guy at their label had a song for them that he wanted on that record, and as kind of like a big FU to that guy, they didn't put it on the record, and that's one of the reasons they think they actually wouldn't release the record. Not this whole it wasn't commercial enough, but they pissed
yeah,
one person off. So I wonder if they threw something on there because they just needed to put something on there. I mean, this is just me making it up, but I know that there was what I read was that there was a song that their A&R guy wanted on there that they didn't put on. So the guy was pissed.
So to me, it's kind of like that, or Ralph, like in Zep 3 with Hats Off to Roy Harper. Another song that's very, I don't know, divisive, I guess.
Not with me, it's not.
Yeah, I know you like. I don't like it at all.
Something for everyone. All right, so with that, we'll wrap it up. We're gonna throw some Riot at the people. We're gonna cause a riot today on Song of the Day.
Yep.
You guys are gonna check out their early stuff, their first 3 albums, but especially Fire Down Under. That's the one you read the most about. Ignore the Seal-Headed Man and give it a chance, and and see what you think. And put your comments below. I'd like to thank Ralph and Frank for coming on. Next time, Ralph, we'll try to get you on video.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That's my technical. Yeah, that's on my end.
Yep, that's all right. But I appreciate you guys coming on, and we're looking forward to season 5, and just keep the conversations coming. And we didn't tell Ralph how we take it out, but he won't be able to see him. But Frank, you know how to right? So.
Yeah, so the timing won't be bad.
Again, thanks again for being on. We got a Riot
Thank
here.
You, Mark.
Yep, it was great to have you guys on, and as usual, you ready?
Ready.
Catch you on
the flip side.
So,